And we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Very, very, very pleased to see you again. My name is Tal Baker Phillips. You may notice me from the old version of the webinars. We've relaunched again, and we are going to be joined by some stellar guests, including Will Aiken, who's joined us just now. Hello, Will.
Hey there, folks. How we doing? Apologies for the last minute. I did actually think it was 1 o'clock Eastern. Don't know how I missed that, but I'm traveling right now, so calendar is a bit more hectic than usual.
You're with us now.
What
No
an
problem.
appearance. What an appearance. Can't beat that.
Yeah, just at the right time. I've got Pierre sat next to me. So Pierre is my trusty assistant who has put together this beautiful presentation. The goal of this presentation is to look at cold emails, look at cold calls. We're going to get the advice of Patrick and Will. No further introduction because they're boring. Will, I'm going to come to you first whilst Patrick, I'm going to come to you first whilst Will kind of sits himself down and finds a spot, so that he can be comfortable. Introduce yourself to the audience if you would be so kind, and then give us your most fun anecdote about a wedding. How about that?
Of course, yeah. So for those who don't know me off LinkedIn, I mean, probably some do because I'm quite active there. At the moment I'm CRO at Taskbase, joined there as a actually quite lucky position, late co-founder kind of, because a friend of mine started a company, but it was quite some years ago. And I've been in sales now for like 12 years, software sales, and I would never have thought that I'm going to do or start in sales ever. It's quite common probably in Europe, Tal, you might know, Will. Not sure in the US it's a bit more common, or sales is a serious job to do, which is definitely not the case in Switzerland. So I would never have thought that I'm ever going to start in sales. And it was quite a strange start as well, because I was at university and I needed to have a job because I moved out from home, and I didn't have any money, so I needed to earn some money. So I applied at this financial consultant company that does financial consultancy, and I thought it's just a consulting job. No idea what I thought about that. But then I had a hiring call, which was quite strange because it wasn't about, they didn't ask me questions. They were like presenting their company and saying, hey, yeah, come to us. And didn't find that suspicious, even though it was very suspicious. But I started anyway. And then we had like a training program to go through. And I went to the first training. And in the first training, they said, write down all your friends' names and write down their phone numbers and now call them. And
how long was the list, honestly?
It was 20. So it was just 20. We always had a paper of like referral. It was also for referrals that we had to ask after every single call, a meeting, to get down like 20 names of people they know so that we could advance. So it was 100% commission job. And I had to call all my friends and then book meetings to consult them financially. So that, and at this point, that was too late to turn around. So I said, okay, let's give it a try.
Now that's a great place to start as well, because you're going to be kind of the team cold call on this particular webinar. And then Will, you're going to be the kind of team email side there. Now, Patrick, I've got to get very quickly from you, the wedding anecdote. You have a fun story, like a short intro into that little story.
Yeah, so I mean, I married almost exactly a year ago, 13 October last year, and we married close to at the lake in Zurich. And I planned after the wedding, I planned to go by boat with like a few family members and friends to go to the restaurant by boat. And we didn't have enough boats. So one of my friends, like actually my best man, he said, Patrick, let's I can ask my friend and we can have his boat. The only thing is we have to go by boat to the wedding. So in the morning, like 1 hour before the wedding, we took the boat. And after half an hour on the middle of the lake, the boat stopped. So we were there. I was there in my full suit. Nothing like on the lake. No. And at some point, some fishermen crossed, and we were like, waving. And the fisherman took me to the shore just like 10 minutes before the wedding started. I tried to find an Uber on the way. I couldn't. Nobody wanted to get my call. So I went to the gas station, knocked on somebody's window and said, can you drive me to my wedding? And he was like, yeah, I'm an Uber driver. Okay, good. But I got in.
You are now.
Then I just got to the wedding. 2 minutes before it started, and my best man, I had to find a new best man because he didn't make it. He was escorted by the police to the wedding, but he was 4 minutes late. So yeah, that was
beautiful. I mean, at least you got there in the end, right? Now, Will, we're going to come over to you. You sat comfortably. You also have. See, I want to say the word embarrassing, but I sort of don't want to set it up too much. But tell us about who you are. People might be comfortable or familiar with your recent door-to-door sales things, which we can come on to. Tell us a bit about who you are and what you do, and any tattoos that you have.
Yeah, super pumped to be here on time, just about. Currently in New York, filming some content with Nick and Armand, 30 Minutes to President's Club, which is that's why I'm in a hallway. They're in there. I don't want to get in the way of their content, basically. I took my side so I don't look so funky. But yeah, my name is Will. I am a sales trainer, influencer, guru, whatever you may want to call it. And I also run myself a video editing agency, which is what brings me to New York right now. Been in sales or sales adjacent space for about 10 years, my entire career, basically. And today, apparently, I'm repping cold email over cold calling. And spoiler alert.
You're the cold email guy. You're the guy that we're going to have cold email.
Everyone knows.
We're going to mix in a little bit of each, and then we'll mix in some of that. So quickly, tattoo anecdote. What have you got?
Wedding anecdote?
Tattoo.
A tattoo on you? Okay, cool. Give me a second. Got some of the worst tattoos imaginable. I've got Stitch over here. That one I got in Vietnam. I basically only get tattoos that I know I'll regret. These are beer logos. I want to get them.
Beer logos is
probably the worst one of the bunch is actually a tramp stamp. We're going to get a bit graphic here. I do apologize.
Wow.
That is the logo of a company called Scratchpad. There's a story behind that one, but we don't have time for it.
Maybe we can come on to it later on, but that good intro, good strong intro, a little bit different. We don't want to go too long. Thank you, Will. Very good. Door to door is interesting as well because that's where I have some experience as well. Anyway, now I saw one or two things in the chat. Now we will be going through the chat. We read all of the little comments coming through. I can see them as they're coming in. Yes, we will see you. And we'd like you to have some interaction, some interactivity in this. So what you'll see, Mr. Pierre, my trusty assistant Pierre, who sat to my right, he will put up sporadically throughout this webinar a QR code, scan it with your phone, and then we would like some sort of engagement from yourself. So if you could start this right now, Will, Patrick, you can do the same. Get this QR code, scan it, and then click on the link. And then we would like to see, you'll see it update live as to where you are from. How far does Lemlist reach? How far does Lempire reach? And let's see where it is that you actually have. So put the little thing on the map, and then it will update automatically there. Now, by the sounds of it, Will, me and you are from a similar place. By the sounds of the way you speak. Whereabouts are you from exactly in the UK?
I'm from Milton Keynes. But I live in Nova Scotia, Canada.
Okay. What brought you out there?
Love. It's the cringe response.
Tattoos. Good tattoo
Tattoos,
artists.
yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. And as many people can come as possible, as many people leave your response, there you go.
What country is that in just north of the equator there, in north of the Sahara there in Africa?
Senegal, maybe? No.
This is like GeoGuessr. You got to guess where you are.
Yeah, GeoGuessr, man.
Looks like a couple of Brazil. You got New York.
South of Brazil, Sao Paulo, maybe? Southeast.
What state could that be in the world? In US? Someone's in Toronto.
Is that Madeira? Is that Madeira, just off the coast of Africa, maybe as well? Got some Portuguese influence.
Nordic. Someone's way up north in Scotland, or either that, or it's combining them.
Yeah, or is it badly placed Milton Keynes?
That's it.
Beautiful. So it's really nice to see you guys. Let us know. It's great that you can see it now. You know how the function works. South Africa as well. Cool. That's going to come up later on as well. And there's going to be something else a little bit later. So if you haven't already, if you haven't already, scan the code and let us know. We're going to start with some work-based, webinar-based topics now. What's your biggest challenge with outreach? Is it something to do with, you'll see on your phone now, you'll get a couple of options. High rejection rates, no replies, no pickup, or wrong contact information. Of course, you can think about phone, you can think about email, you can think about which one applies to you most. Which is it? Vote now, please. And let's see what's coming in with your answers. Now, whilst you're doing that, we're going to get some replies in. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to go Patrick first. How long do you take to prepare for a cold call? Whilst we're getting some of these biggest challenges, what's your preparation time? What do you do when you're preparing for a cold call?
So I am not a big fan of large of preparation really when it comes to cold call and email. So I don't do any preparation at all. Most of the time, I mean, preparation is separate from the call. So we have slots that I add all the contacts, or we add the team adds the contacts, and we prepare the sequences or just as tasks, depending how people want to work. And then we have call sessions, and we just push through. There's not much research in there, because if you tackle like one ICP, you have a clear ICP, you know exactly what the problem is that you solve, and you start with that problem in the call, then there's no need for that. Because if you do, like, it adds up quickly, right? If you spend like 5 minutes for research, that's really quickly an hour if you talk.
Especially if they don't pick up ultimately, which comes down to data quality and some of the things. But if you do all of that, and then maybe it comes on to you, Will. Same question for emails, then maybe. And of course, if you want to, Will, you can talk about cold callers.
Yeah.
Let's go for emails.
I think I share similar sentiment to Patrick, and there is nuance here. It does depend. And am I coming through all right? I heard someone in the chat say that my audio might be a bit quiet.
You're okay now. I can hear you just fine.
Beautiful. So if you work in enterprise sales, you have 50 accounts that you can sell to the whole world. Then spend some time researching 100%, because if you've only got a few shots, you're gonna blow it. But I'm much more of a fan, and I come from more of an SMB and mid-market background where I've got thousands of accounts I could sell to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my research while I build the list of people who I intend to email and call. So just by being in a sequence, I'm going to have a sequence for people who are experiencing this one thing that I know makes it more likely for them to be facing the problems that I can help solve. So if I do that, I batch list people based on a thing or a common trait. Then I save a ton of time when it actually comes to delivering and executing on the outreach, whether that be a cold call or a cold email. So 0 is how long time I spend preparing to send a cold email or cold call.
I'm very happy.
However,
go ahead.
Time up front.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy so far that both of you said the word problem as opposed to pain or other words associated, because this is what it knuckles down to. Ultimately, both of you seem to go, right, we've got a problem, we've got a ICP. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, I'm paraphrasing based on what you guys, I'm assuming. But we've got an ICP, we understand the ICP KPIs, let's go with the problems, and then start with problem 1, and then work our way down from that. I guess that you can do it, Patrick, on the phone with questions, and then in an email, you basically get one shot at one problem, don't you, per email? And then the next email you get problem number 2. And so there you go. Now, moving on, as the answers are coming in, keep them coming in, guys. We can see, there you go. Oh, Pierre, look at that transition. Pierre, see, it's just smooth as silk. It's smooth as silk. I know I can rely on him, but just the smoothest transition. We're going to go, again, a few more little things. Any techniques or technologies that you use to make each interaction feel tailored to the prospect? Obviously, it's loaded with AI here. Will, maybe I'll start with you this time. You've got a quizzical face. You're looking up, you're thinking deeply about this question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So historically, I've been more of a proponent of using LinkedIn Sales Navigator as my own tool. And I'm going to try and find ways that I can search and find those, people call them triggers or whatever it is, common traits of why I'm reaching out to these people. That said, more recently, I've started to use a bit more AI or AI that's built into other tools. So I've been using a little bit of Zoom for Copilot. And I have just last week, I'm a bit late to this, got on the Clay train. And that immediately I can see that is going to make things a little bit easier going forward. So I use that. I also use sometimes if I'm doing really tailored outreach, or especially if I book the call with the customer, then I often will use Perplexity or GPT-4 to just do like, hey, what are some things I should be aware of as it relates to this conversation, and I give it like some context of what we might be talking about. So a few tools there that help me get ready to reach out to folks.
Yeah, cool. We've got a webinar coming up. I'll come to you, Patrick, with Code IQ. I hope I'm allowed to say that. Am I? Yeah, maybe. But we're going to do basically like a Clay and Lemlist AI comparison, because I would love to get on the Clay bandwagon. I can't use it. I literally can't use it. Like all those variables and numbers. I get to a point, and then
that's
I'm like,
how I feel as well. I'm more of like a charismatic side of sales. It's like sometimes sales these days can feel like you need like a computer science background.
It really
that
is.
was why I was intimidated to try it.
Absolutely. Patrick, over to you.
Hey, it depends a bit on the companies that I worked with. Actually, now at Taskbase, we have a very good way of quickly checking. But as I said, we do that usually before, but we can. While calling, you can check if they have a digital platform on their website, or if they use, or if they provide a digital platform, something like this. And I would bring that in right before the opener, before the do you mind giving me 30 seconds so that I explain why exactly I call you right now? Before I say, hey, look, I checked, I saw that you have a digital platform on your website. Do you mind if I take 30 seconds to tell why I call you right now? So I do sometimes, if I really see something just right away on LinkedIn. I remember something. Some guy had he is a sales enthusiast on his profile. He was a CRO of a bank. I kind of use that information as well at the very beginning of the call. But other than that, yeah, that's it. I'm quite strict or quite consistent with what's been said.
Do you know what? Before I go on to the next question as well, you guys probably have the same 2 or 3 salespeople that you've literally worked with, not influencers or anything like that, or people on LinkedIn, but there's 2 or 3 salespeople where you go, Jesus, they were really, really good. I'm sure you have the same, where you've worked with them, you've watched them, the way they speak, the way they conduct themselves, you think, shit, that was great. Exactly the same person, I can think of one of the 2 or 3. He said exactly the same. Someone asked him, what's your approach? Is it medic? Is it band? Is it all of this? How do you prep? What's the pre? He said nothing. I go into a sales meeting, I don't look at anything before the call. That was one of his approaches, because he said, I just want to ask the questions. I start with my opener question and I go from there. Now, rightly or wrongly, maybe people disagree or don't, but that actually starts to have the basis. And the more you go into it, the more you think, that's maybe not the worst approach there for that kind of thing. What do you think?
I will add some nuance to that, because I want to share my thoughts on that, because you can do that, and 100% the question is the most important, but it's the quality of the questions that you ask as well. If you come in and be like, so where are you based? The person will be like, you didn't even look up the bare minimum before you jumped on it with me. But you can look at my LinkedIn profile and see that. It's what does your company do? You should know those things. So if they're good questions, yeah, that approach works. But you got to know the bare minimum, because otherwise you're just going to annoy the crap out of your buyers, because they're going to be like, you're going to make me up. You're going to waste my time answering questions that you could have found out online. That's the rule I'll make. That you don't have to get that deep into it, but at least know that before you jump on a call.
I totally agree. No question that a doctor wouldn't ask. Yeah, that's normally what I say. If it's not going to help them, then you shouldn't be asking that question deeply. If you're not understanding the problems, or you're not trying to uncover something that they couldn't themselves understand, doctor doesn't ask, why'd you wear that jacket? It doesn't help him solve why you're ill. Doctor asks questions about your health, about your diet, about the way you move, your exercise, that kind of thing. I completely agree.
Patrick, if you're asking, it's like when we go to the doctor and they're like, so you're a boy or a girl? How old are you? And you're like, surely I've been coming to this doctor for years. Surely you got that on file, right? That's where we get into the territory of that's a bad question.
Yeah, I think I agree, definitely. And I mean, I can clearly see how somebody would say that who is in the business for 10 years. Obviously, also, we don't have any more a system or a clear system. We have it in our brain, because I've been using Medic, and it's kind of internalized, and you can just go in, you ask the obvious question for outbound is, hey, I reached out to you. Why do you even take half an hour with me, or an hour or something? And then you kick off the call. You don't need to know that much, but you do need to, because if you have half an hour or an hour, I mean, there's always a limited time that you can ask. You can ask a limited number of questions in every call. And if you ask these kind of things that Will just said, hey, where are you from? How many salespeople do you have in your team? How does the sales process look like? Things like that maybe you first need to find out what could be a potential challenge that matches with what you sell and with what they buy. I saw especially in outbound SaaS sales, if you are in a startup scale up motion, you can't go into a call and say, hey, look, okay, tell me about your challenges, because they might say, yeah, wow, well, my biggest challenge is I can't find people. Hiring is my biggest challenge, and then they talk 5 to 10 minutes about a challenge that has nothing to do with what I sell. lost time. I mean, what do I want to do? And then how do I change the conversation to, oh, actually, I'm not at all interested in whether you are selling, whether you need hiring support, but by the way, how about this? And this is, I think it's quite crucial to know that you don't ask for budget in the first call in an outbound generated meeting. Makes no sense. I mean, you don't ask that. So I think it's quite critical to know what
I think so, and I think we put a lot of onus on normally on SDRs, don't we, to do that kind of job and get too much information when it doesn't actually the questions actually end up annoying someone. Pierre, I'm going to go one more very quickly. Right, you guys, 30 seconds each. Cold calling is normally more, I'd say, the more exhausting method, but is it more efficient? It was something that I came up with on LinkedIn actually, so I wanted to ask you guys what you think. Will, what are your thoughts? More exhausting but more efficient? Yes or no?
Is cold calling more efficient than sending an email? It depends how you define that. I think efficiency is one of those trap words that we all fall into. Yeah, it's efficient to blast out 1,000 emails. You can do that in 5 minutes, but they're probably going to be crap and they're probably not going to get responded to. So although it didn't take you much time, did it actually get the results? That's a fact you have to take into it. I would argue that jumping on the phone is probably a little bit more efficient of a way to get someone contacted, but it depends. There's once again, if your data's bad, if if you're doing things at like 10 minutes research, then making every call, then that becomes totally inefficient, right? So I think it's more about how you conduct yourself on both channels. I think they can, I think efficiency is often the word that people do it using the wrong way. And they think efficiency is how long it takes me to complete the task, but it's how long it takes me to get the result. That's how people should be thinking about efficiency, not, wow, I can do this much in this much time, but what's that do for you, right? So I think if you were to measure back the time, and I know I'm going to be representing cold emails here, but like if you tell me I've got to book 10 meetings today, it's a bit of a tall order. I'm not going to start sending emails. I'm going to pick up the phone, right? If you give me a choice between the two, because I know that's the quickest way for me to get in touch with someone and get yes, no's. And I also believe in my skills to be able to get it done, whereas email is a few more variables. Are they going to see it? Are they going to be busy? Are they going to ignore it? I think it's just, so I would agree.
10 meetings a day. We've got to speak to your manager first and foremost. Jeez.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, to be fair, when I first started working in sales, I was working for Connells, who you'll probably be aware of, mate. The agent. And my goal every day was to set 5 valuations of someone's home. So B2C, and like my record was 12. So you can do it. That's in B2C. B2B is a little bit different.
Cool. Patrick, yourself?
Yeah, same. I mean, nothing to add to the efficient case. If you'd ask me what's more effective, then I'd say, especially early on, it's probably cold calls, because you know or you can learn faster and better. You understand probably your ICB better. You know, a lot of emails are neither answered or not answered, or maybe with stuff like not interested. And most of the time, there's no point some asking a question. Oh, why are you not interested? Or things like, hey, look, I'm this person. Nobody will answer that, right?
You've lost them at that point, haven't you?
You lost them. You lost them completely. Yeah. And in a cold call, you with a conversation, it's, if you have a good start, if your first 60 seconds are spot on, you will be able to have a normal conversation with a human being, like 7 to 18 minutes, and you will learn a lot, and you will know better where to go next. But otherwise, fully agree with what Will said.
I think the best salespeople have all called, and I think that doing both is, it's such a, do you know what? I used to think cold calls were harder. I think I don't now, because of that reason about the usage, because of that kind of thing. And then we can go on to multi-channel and things like that. Maybe I can touch on a question in a second. Pierre has moved on the slide. That means we need to go on. So let's look at this one here. So we're going to go on for, when you choose, what type of omni-channel have you tried so far? So this is for everyone to give it a go on your phone pads. What's the one that you use the most? Now, I'm interested here, guys. Whilst we're getting the numbers in, because I'm a big supporter of LinkedIn. And in terms of omni-channel, obviously, we can talk about different tools, so on and so on. Will, what's your kind of thought on omni-channel? And what's your preferred channel to go through when you are doing outbound, or what you would recommend to other people?
The ones that work. But generally, I would say
door to door, maybe.
Like really refine email, phone, and probably the third one is LinkedIn. But then there's like also like there's other ways. Every persona, every industry hangs out in different places and have different ways to reach them. I used to believe that LinkedIn was probably not as effective for like more technical buyers, like CTOs and folks like those, because a lot of people on LinkedIn are recruiters, salespeople, and marketers. That said, I recently had a chat with a guy called Thibaut over at Qualtrics, I think it was. And he was saying he booked the majority of his meetings via LinkedIn. So it's like, what are you good at? Double down on some of the strengths. And he was using video to CTOs, but he was also only focusing on people who were actually active on the platform. So I think that's also a nuance that matters there. Like, he wasn't just reaching out to every CTO on LinkedIn, because a lot of these people put it up as their, like, resume basically, and never log in and use the app. He was looking at people who had like done something, commented, liked, or posted in the past 30 days. And therefore, he was only actually reaching out to people he knew were logging into the app and using it. But yeah, I would say LinkedIn, email, and then phone, and then you can branch out on other channels if needed, if they're available to you in your industry.
Any other channels, Patrick, that you go with?
So if I look at the stats, I just have my stats from last month from our company.
Oh, that's great.
21 meetings. 21 meetings through cold calling, 16 through email, then 6 LinkedIn outreach, 5 referrals, 2 inbounds. So not really inbound. I mean, in my whole sales career, the last 12 months, I think I got like 20 inbounds max. 2 partners and 1 close lost opportunity that we reopened, basically. So close lost opportunities, if that's a separate channel, that's an interesting one. Referrals, obviously. I learned that, as I said in my story, I learned that quite early on, the hard way, how we did with referrals. So you can ask after every single call, you say, I mean, okay, you can ask, hey, do you think somebody, do you think you like what you saw? Do you think that could be beneficial for somebody else? And then ask names. That's one way, not so effective. What's the most effective way you can do? Before a call, you go on LinkedIn, you research the person, you check first connections of companies you really want to tackle. You write down 3 names that you want an intro to. That's the best. And at the end of the call, you say, look, Tim, I saw that you're connected to Thomas. Do you mind if I give him a call and send him your greetings? They only have to say yes or no. That's it. And nothing else, no email, no nothing, just if it's fine to if you can greet them. And then when you pick up the phone, you say, hey, Will, first greetings from Thomas. And that's it. And ice broken call, definitely going on for plus 5 minutes. So that's one thing that we've been using. And on top of that, I mean, cold email, cold calling alone isn't smart. Cold emailing alone, probably neither. But because cold emails, if you send an email, this email could be in the inbox of the receiver for days, right? They could review it, they can see it. They can see it when you are not working. So emails work when you are not working. Cold calls can't. You can just, you can pick up the phone from 9 to 5, but that's it. You have no other chances, and that's why definitely LinkedIn, emails, besides cold calling, you have to use them.
Yeah.
There's also voicemails, which kind of act the same way, but I also don't want to leave a voicemail after every call I make. 1, a lot of people don't listen to them. 2, I normally call someone like 5 or 6 times, maybe 7, before I actually give it a rest and figure out that I'm not going to be able to reach into that channel for my sequences. If I left a voicemail on every single one of those and they can see I've called them 7 times, that's actually not a good look for me. So I only leave like 1 or 2 voicemails throughout my entire call sequences. Because like the first one, I might be like, yo, about to shoot you an email. It's coming from Will Aiken. Or it's going to have the subject line training, or have the subject line slide deck. And then that way it points towards it. But then later in the calls, I might leave a voicemail that says, hey, been reaching out, Lobby, you might have seen some of my emails, but the reason I want to chat is because I spotted this. A lot of people are running this issue that's related to that thing that I saw. Let me know either way. Does it sound like it's worth chatting about? You've got an email from me again. So I'm pointing more back to that because, again, I just don't expect them to call me back. If they do call me back, I often panic because I'm like, oh, crap, who's this? And then CRM's always too slow to pull it up, especially because I use call forwarding.
I used to hate that.
Yeah, the call gets forwarded to my mobile device. So if I still have my dialer open, yeah, that'd be great because I could be like, okay, it's this person. But most of the time I don't because I do dial blocks, right? I do like 1 or 2 hours a day. So then most of the time when I get a call back, it's like 6 o'clock. I'm like,
Yeah.
This is like a roulette game. If I pick this up, I'm like, hello, and they're like, who is this? I'm like, that's a great question. Who's this? And they're like, well, you called me. I'm like, oh, damn it. So in a way, I'd rather not get called back sometimes unless I'm in my dialer, and then it pops up the details as they call back.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Like, Pierre, what we can do is we can go into these stats. And I think that it's interesting where you say that your approach is to direct people back to the email, for example. So if you go, I'm going to send you this subject line, this kind of email. I try a different approach just for the kind of viewers. And I can see, by the way, Ivan, you put a question. The questions will come up at the end. We'll get those in for you. I actually point them towards. Can we get the stats up, Mr. Pierre? If we get those, there we go. What I try and do is I try and give value at each different touch point. So it will be a different, primarily a different problem, but it will not necessarily relate to my interactions across different channels. So if I'm doing calling, it's a bit different, but email and LinkedIn, I don't talk about the fact that I've interacted on each. I kind of let that do the talking, that I've maybe knocked on both doors. But then you have to be not obnoxious, and you have to, again, have good messaging and good copywriting for that. I know it's easier said than done, but that's when it comes down to one problem per message. LinkedIn, you only have 200 characters max. Some of you have 300, but it's mainly 200. And then email, you have to, I like it concise, 50, 70 words max. And then you get that, providing you're not doing super spammy stuff, speaking and, really obnoxious writing, you don't rub people up the wrong way. So it's funny that we just have sort of different approaches there. Now, what have we tried so far? Now, these ones at the bottom, Pierre, those ones there was 16. What have we got there for that number? On my screen, it's Will's lovely head is blocking out the word. There it is. Email plus LinkedIn plus phone. Okay, so it was a bit, So it was a bit of a trap and you walked past. Beautiful. That for me, even if you just have one step before we move on, it's about 40-45% more effective just by having a multi-channel steps. Without, irrespective of the copywriting, if you knock on 2 doors, email and LinkedIn, it's about 40-45% more effective at generating replies. So do it. If you mix that in with cold calls, you're onto a winner, obviously. So we can move on from there. Oh, and it's that time, Pierre. We've got the sound effect. Thank you so much. Here we're going to go on to some objection crushers. So most common objections that you face, and I've told Pierre here to put in the 2 emojis to make it so clear that you couldn't possibly go wrong. Cold calling, objections, or emails. What we're going to have is we're going to ask the guys, I'm going to ask the guys how it is that they would overcome them. So there's some classics here. I'm not interested. I don't have time for this. We already use a competitor's product, insert competitor name. We don't have the budget, too busy for that right now, so on and so on. Which ones do you come up with the most often? Whoa, there they go. So it's interactive again. So the more you vote, the more we'll do it. Let's start, Pierre. What we're going to do whilst we were doing that, we were going to just say, guys, is there anything that you have come across kind of that you've been asked this before, Patrick, where you ask, the main objection you come across, what is it that you have in your head when you're kind of dealing with objections? Do you prep beforehand, like a big list of ways to handle them, or do you do it spontaneously because you've been doing it for so long? What's your approach that you'd recommend?
Yeah, no, I'm I'm doing it like it's just internalized, so I don't have to prepare anymore. But obviously we do before every call session we do a quick like 15-minute team mock-up call where we call each other and we use the most common objections.
Every day you do that?
Not every day. We have call session every like 3 times a week, but we do it once in one of the call sessions, not every day.
That's good. That's a good rate. Once a week is pretty good for a team. How many people in the team?
Now 4.
4. That's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. What about yourself, Will? Anything for emails that you get come back over and over again that you've managed to get around? So let's say someone says not interested or blah blah blah. Is there any kind of, not silver bullet because I hate that phrase, but is there anything that's worked reasonably well, or is it before you send the email you need to write a better email? Maybe that's the answer. That's my question.
That's the answer to a lot of problems into an email. But my silver bullet for cold email objections is call them. I know you were like, yo, Will, we want you to come in here and rep cold email. No, give them a call. And then you've got great reason for calling them as well. Hey, spotted your email, shoot through, got a moment, had a question about it, right? But sometimes you're going to call them, they don't pick up, so then you have to respond with something, right? And oftentimes I find the best way to do it is like similar framework to the one I use via cold calls, which is just like agree with them. We use something, no interest in this. Yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't be, otherwise you probably would have already been chatting to us. You would have come inbound or given us a call already. And then it's a case of like, other people typically find this, and I sometimes restate the problem as well. With emails, sometimes you get an objection, you call them and you can't get through to them, or they say still, no, I'm not interested. I actually like going on their LinkedIn profile look where they worked at their last company, assuming that, they probably moved on from another company that you could sell to, and be like, hey, really appreciate you getting back to me nonetheless. I have a question for you. I did spot that you used to work Oracle. Given your experience there, could you see this is something that the team there could be more in need of? And then I'll restate that problem of what they might be more in need of. So that gives me two things. It gives me one, it gives me a chance to restate the problem just in case it wasn't clear in that first email. I hate this. But also it gives me the opportunity to get a referral, and then exactly all I need is like a name, and I could make the subject line literally their name. So that could be like the subject line Will Aitken, and I can send that to one of their old colleagues and be like, just chat to Will. He said, I was chatting to him about this problem. He said that you guys might be facing that. We're helping solve that XYZ, and that way is a warm conversation as well. So looking for opportunities like that, I think that's a heavily overlooked one. When people get objections over cold email, they just ignore it. I was working with a rep at Spotify. Someone replied back saying, no, we just went through this huge transition of switching our point of sale over to Square or something like that, yada, yada. And at the end, he wrote, out of curiosity, does your platform offer wholesale functionality? And she replied saying, yes, we offer wholesale functionality. Sorry to hear the transition was bad. And that was it. And I was like, no, why do you think he's asking about wholesale functionality? It's because there's probably this new platform they just spent ages implementing, is probably hates right now, probably doesn't have wholesale functionality. So pick up the phone and call him. She picked up the phone, called him, said, hey, I spotted your email a little while ago. Show your response to that. However, you did mention wholesale functionality. I'm curious, what made you want to know more about that? And then he basically spilled his guts and was like, well, my current platform, they told me it would, it doesn't, and then all that stuff, and then bang, booked a meeting from it, right? Let's pick up the phone and have a call. If not possible, ask for a referral.
Bingo. Referrals seem to be coming back to it as well. And I think overall, referrals has got to be it's like a cheat code, really, referrals, isn't it? Because you literally have the answer and you know that it's someone that's interested, and you have your in through trusted, through a trusted kind of third party, really. Pierre, let's get those stats. There we are. Now, I'm going to ask you the same. Patrick, what about send me some more information? We've all had that kind of objection before. You're on a call, someone says, could you send me some more info, please? You say...
So what I usually say is, I can do that, and can I add something to that suggestion? What I suggest is I send you some information, you'll have a look at it, and we will, let's have a chat about it like next week. When would work next week? What do you think about that? So I try to get it. That's one thing that's usually working quite well. Another thing you can do is say, hey, look, I can send you tons of information. At the moment, I have actually no clue exactly what kind of information to send. Do you mind me asking one last question? And then you have another chance. You can get in. You can continue basically. These are the two options.
Great. Let's carry on from there. Well, one or two more from this thing, so I think it's a good exercise. Mr. Pierre, if I could just see. I'm too busy right now. So, Will, someone's too busy right now on a call or in an email, like I'm too busy with this, other projects, whatever. What's your response?
Yeah, the too busy right now is quite a nice one. I like it. I say, okay, when works better? They usually say, well, call me on Friday. I say, okay, what time? 3 o'clock. Okay, do you mind sending in a quick invitation for that time? Okay with you, and invitation out. And obviously, I mean, I'd say about 60-70% will take the call. You might have a rate of some percentage that people don't take the call. But what you will see is they might cancel the call, but they explain it. You know, they might do some research beforehand and they give you an explanation why they canceled the call. That's usually the case with the other 20%, and 10% will cancel the call and you might not hear anymore from them. But that's the way we handle it.
Very nice, but similar approach for me. But for most people, getting the idea of having another call on their calendar, they just go, they're like, I'm really busy right now. You go, all right, well, when we better, or what, we can find some time later in the week, get on the calendar. Sometimes the threat of having something that they don't want on their calendar is enough for them to go, okay, well, all right, what's this actually about? And you're in a conversation anyway, and it goes for 10 minutes. They weren't that busy, right? So I love that approach as well. A lot of those are knee jerks. They're just trying to get rid of you, say whatever they can to get rid of you. They're not real like objections. Even I'm not interested. People sometimes hear that and think, oh, they're not interested in my product services. No, they're just not interested in having a conversation with a sales rep. They're just not interested in being reached out to. So like, never like to take that at face value. you always got to do something to put it back on them, clarify, because most of the time they're not saying, no, I don't want XYZ software or service. They're saying, no, I don't want you to talk to me right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's one big misconception, especially for junior sellers, they get on the phone and via email.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And junior sellers as well, just quickly, is kill them with kindness. I think is quite a good one, where not getting stroppy, not getting arsey, not being annoyed, and just being professional and credible. So asking one or two good questions and giving some info, you can pretty quickly turn someone around, I found.
And the goal is to catch them out as well. Junior sellers,
absolutely,
they start pushing back and they're like, well, if you're busy, why don't you pick up the phone? Or if you're in a meeting, then it can't be that important. I'm like, what are you trying to do? Win an argument here? That's not going to work. You're just going to piss them off more. So you gotta exactly lead with empathy, lead with curiosity, agree with them is often the easiest way to do that. I'm certain you're like absolutely slammed, and I could have given you a heads up I was planning to call. With that said, we could find time later, or do you have 20 seconds to see what it's about, and you can tell me to fuck off if it's not good for you. Apologies for swearing on your live.
It's okay.
And especially if I'm not interested, I think you will hear I'm not interested quite a lot if your first 60 seconds, I always say that the first 60 seconds they need to sit. And if you start with like, hey, we're helping companies streamlining their processes, obviously they say I'm not interested, because what is streamlining processes and what the heck? So obviously you will hear something like this. So that's the thing, you have to nail it, and you have to perfectly describe some challenge at the beginning, from my point of view, that they can really judge well whether it is. And if you get I'm not interested, one thing that I really liked is Josh Brown's reaction on there. We've been using that one. It's basically like, okay, before you hang up, I know it's not your job to help salespeople, but do you mind me asking one last question? Is it because you're happy with what you have? Have you other pressing things to do, or do you hate getting cold calls as much as I making them? And then you might be able to turn this around, but it is hard. It's a very low percentage in general.
I think people do normally they're happy to ask questions as well on that. Now we're going to go quick fire to get through the last ones, just so we can get them. Oh, go back, Pierre. 1 second, we'll go back. Oh, we don't have time. Okay, we're going to carry on. I was going to go through one or two others, but you went in very deep on one or two of them there, so that's good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little audit of emails and a cold call here. So the first one that we're going to go through is an email. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it out, and then, guys, we're going to get one or two your key first things that jump out at you of how to improve it, and this is what we're going to have. So, hey, hope this message finds you well. I'm Ahmad, the representative of XYZ. I provide SEO, white hat link building, guest blog posting, and writing services. Guest post backlinks are essential for maintaining a strong presence in search engine results pages, SERPs. If you're getting bored, this is the whole point, because the email is too long. And I'm passionate about helping you achieve your SEO goals through high quality link building. You don't need to worry about getting bad backlinks. I meticulously select the best match sites for your needs, giving you full control over the selection process. I'll continue to find the perfect site until you're completely satisfied, ensuring that your content never gets labeled as sponsored or paid. Just reply to me with your requirements, and I'll connect you with the most relevant sites. Work with me and enjoy the peace of mind that comes with my quality service. Kind regards, Ahmad Faras, link building expert at XYZ. Will, we're going to go a little bit quicker this time.
Yeah.
First thoughts, what would you do to improve it?
Everything. I'm gonna go a little bit on a rant now, because I see this shit all the time. This email's way too long. You could make it a third of the length and have the same impact. Number two, hope this finds you well, scrap it. I don't care if you hope you find it well. Everyone says that. Doesn't matter. Just assume that they don't care if you help them well or not. Second thing, hi, my name is X from Y. Look at the bottom of the email. There's an email signature. If they want to know who you are and where you work, they can look down there. Cut all that crap. All of this is very informative and kind of like, it's got that kind of tone like, oh, did you know? This is essential. Any good marketer knows backlinks are important, so scrap all that as well. I would just start with, hey, it looks like right now there's a few assets on your website or another websites that aren't backlinked. A lot of folks find that it's a pain in the ass to do that, because, I wouldn't say pain in the ass, but it's a pain to do that because it's a lot of admin work, making sure all those links that are elsewhere on the web are backlinks. We've been helping XYZ company do that by basically taking all the admin work off and making sure that those are optimized as possible so they get the intended results. Does this sound interesting? All right. Don't need to instruct them on how to respond to an email. Just, does that sound interesting? Is this something you got covered, or is that something you've been hoping to do, or something you've tried before? And then send off, and that could be under like 50 words, and it could be so much better than this. And you don't even have to personalize it that much. All you have to do is find a list of 100 companies who have links elsewhere on the web that aren't backlinks. I don't know
Relevancy,
about
right?
backlinks, so my
Not
terminology.
personalization, relevancy. No, but yeah, you're right. You mentioned personalization there, but relevancy. You say like, okay, let's find some people with dodgy backlinks that aren't very good, and then you have your relevancy. You have your
It
relevant.
technically is personalized. You've found 100 companies that have links elsewhere that aren't backlinks. You've done the work at that point. It's more personalized than 90% of emails out there. Most of them look like this.
Patrick, yourself.
Nothing to add, actually. Will is the email chief here. And, let's move on to the cold call.
Well, I'll give one or two of my insights then before we go on to it. I think that, just to paraphrase what you said as well, Will, the main part of an email, if you could break it down to 3 points, is the trigger overall, an expansion of the problem, a description of the problem that they can understand, and then for me, a value-based CTA. Something like, I noticed, well, you did a great one. I noticed on your website that you have XYZ backlinks aren't working, whatever, something to do with, you saw, right, that's true. Tick in their head, the reader, tick. Then you go on to describing the problem, what it might look like, what they might be doing right now, some annoyances they might be doing, pains, that's fine. But yeah, just making them understand that, that problem's there and what it might be causing to their KPIs. Then you can go on to the value-based CTA. Would you mind if I share the backlink process that helped us, the XYZ used to gain this KPI change, or avoid this problem, or get this improvement in their KPIs? Everything's got to be just basically linked around that. And again, I'm giving a crap example because I'm kind of improvising, but that 1, 2, 3, if you can't see those bits in your email, it means you're adding a load of bullshit, basically, doesn't it, Pierre? Pierre's nodding his head. So that's what I'd add. And Will, you did that very nicely. Patrick, we're going to go on to right now, the next slide, Mr. Pierre. Here we go. Let's have a listen to this.
Hello, it's Kate.
Hi Kate, this is Mike from Sales Tech Solution. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Who are you with again?
Sales Tech Solution, we provide sales automation tools that help business like yours streamline their sales processes, I just wanted to quickly tell you about how we could help your team save a lot of time.
Well, I'm a bit busy right now. What exactly do you need?
Well, I was hoping to get a few minutes of your time to talk about how our tool can, completely transform your sales workflow. We work with a lot of companies like, I won't explain. Our tools automate text, they automate the task like follow-ups, lead management, and other sales processes.
Well, we already have a CRM that does most of that.
Yeah, but our tool is different. It's better because it automates even more tasks. You won't have to do anything manually. It's like magic, but for your sales team,
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, sure. Our tool automates your emails, follow-ups, and tracks your leads. You won't have to do any of that stuff yourself anymore. It's super easy.
I see. And how is this different from what I'm already using?
Well, it just is. Our tool is much faster and more efficient than anything else out there.
Look, I really don't have time right now. Could you send me an email?
Well, how about we just schedule a quick demo right now instead? It will only take 30 minutes and I promise you won't regret it.
I'm not interested in a demo at this moment, sorry.
But wait. I really think this will help you. You are missing out if you don't try it. I mean, we have helped
that's not a real one, is it,
with this. I'm sure Acme would benefit too. Oh, shit.
Was that Pierre and a robot talking?
It was one that Pierre very kindly did the audio on himself. He did a great job. I forgot about the old shit at the end. I didn't hear that the first time. Patrick, we'll come to you first. What is your first impressions of that?
Yeah, I mean, okay, it was exactly like I hear very often at the beginning. So the first, even like the first, the how are you? You can discuss. I don't think the first like 30 seconds. If you have a good opener, as I said, I usually use look. I saw that you're leading the digital learning team at blah blah blah, and do you mind I take 30 seconds and I can explain exactly why I call you right now. That works so well. I've never changed it, but there are lots of openers that work quite well. If you're confident, if you get through, then it's fine. The thing is, after the person said yes, okay, go ahead, which happens in 99% of the time, then you have to shine, and you can't say something like, yeah, we help, we are a sales development and sales enablement tool that helps you streamline sales processes. That says nothing, like zero.
Buzzwords, pure
never,
buzzwords.
never start with it's really important with what sentence you start. And if you change this, it can be life-changing to your cold calls. You're not going to hear, we've heard here now, I'm not interested, obviously, because it was such a bad call. I would always say I'm not interested. So it's important you're very detailed about what you do. I give you an example that just pops in my head now. So what I would always start with is, Patrick, we work with a lot of sales leaders from SaaS tech companies who tell me they have one particular challenge. The challenge is that they usually, as a second step in their sales process, have a demo. And most of their AEs, they don't manage to get the client from the demo further. They show all the features in the demo, and then usually the client is not moving forward. Is that something that sounds somewhat familiar to you as well? So it's quite concrete of a specific case, like you know, it's a challenge probably many have, and then they can say, no, not at all, not a problem with in my case. You can add something else then. Okay, Tal, actually something else that we were seeing is that a lot of salespeople still need a lot of time to summarize their calls and to put the data into the CRM. Is that something?
Problem number two. Now we go back to it. Problem number two. Email one, problem one. Email two, problem two, and so on. Question one, problem one, most likely, and so on. Carry on.
Exactly. That's it. Usually you have 2 or 3 chances. You can always ask, okay, Tal, do you mind asking me one last question? But if you have a good understanding of your ICP, if your problem is really well described and in detail, then it's fine. And do start, you force yourself to describe a problem really well if you start your sentence. We talk to a lot of insert the title. We talk to a lot of sales leaders from other tech companies, and they tell me they have one particular challenge or 2 particular challenges, and then write your challenge down and get that perfectly. Really get the formulation of the
now, question for you on that exact point before I come on to you, Will. What if they don't understand or appreciate that is a problem for them? How do you start to unlock and uncover their kind of understanding of that? Would you go into different questions? What do you do? What if they say no, but actually you know that it is? I'll use an example. Let's say you could backlinks. You see on their website that their SEO rankings that they got really bad backlinks. They go, no, it's okay. And you're thinking, yeah, it is. How do you develop that further?
Well, that's a really good question. I think I'm probably not the best to say, because I don't know that situation where you can, I'm usually going in with a quite humble opinion that I don't know better than they do. That's my way. Yeah, I do. Because
that is interesting.
Yeah, I want to, I want to find out, but if they don't, then I let go and I find somebody else in the company maybe, but with this person, if they don't agree with the problem, it is quite hard to make them change. I mean, you probably can't say, but I saw on the website, by the way, that you have this. What about that? What I would do is I would, not sure in the call, but I would probably call some reps or somebody who is like below them and ask them, and then call back and hey, I talked to someone and they actually told me blah blah blah. Maybe that's a way how it could work. But I never have the situation, to be honest. So
interesting.
It's hard.
Yeah, I can go on to it. And what I do very quickly is, this is why I always ask teams that I work with, so the teams that I take care of with Lemlist, I say rank your top 5 problems, at least from most likely that the ICP you reach out to is solving, that you solve for, you have current clients, or that they're always complaining about right now, the problem that they have. Rank number 1 to 5 and do that. You know better than anyone else. So rank 1 to 5 and start there, just like you did on your call, Patrick. Start there. And then if you keep going down and they don't have any problem, move on. That lead, that company isn't for you. Very quickly, Will, your thoughts on the call and anything to add?
So, I mean, obviously the call was intentionally bad. There was a lot to improve on there. My flow is a little bit different, so I'll maybe just share that, because I find with all sales, in fact, you've got to find something that works for you. So it's worth seeing some options, thinking, I like the sound of that, and then trying and practicing it, right? So for me, very similar opener, in fact, to the one you described. It goes, hey, couldn't help but notice, let's use the backlink example again, even though I know nothing about backlinks. It might be coming through for anyone who does know anything about backlinks, but I'd be like, hey, you couldn't help but notice that you've got a lot of blog articles on your website that don't have backlinks in them. It's Will from over at Backlink Agency Ltd. Got a moment to chat, and they're going to go yeah or no, or they're going to throw me an objection, in which case we've already discussed some things like not interested, I'm busy, in whatever. They go, sure, sounds good. And then I'm actually going to hit them with another closed-ended question. This is where I differ from a lot of people, where I go, yeah, so talking to a lot of folks who run their own websites, they're running into these kind of two big challenges when it comes to backlinks. And then I'm going to say, number one, it's like a super administrative process to go through all their articles and all the things they're linking out to and add backlinks to things. The second one is that they just don't understand the whole concept of what backlinks are or the technical aspects of how to set them up. Don't suppose either of those are problems for you right now, or are you going to tell me that you're absolutely crushing it or don't care in the slightest about that type of thing? So I'm giving them an out, but oftentimes when you give people that choice, they go, well, obviously I care. Who doesn't care about those things if they're anyone who respects the work they do? I don't know how important backlinks are, just to clarify on that. I'm trying to use an example, it's not my own business. And then they go, yeah. And I'm like, which of those two? And they're like, number one. I'm like, okay, so it sounds like, you strap the time. Tell me more about that. Like, is it something you've tried in the past, or is it just something that you just put off for ages? And then I'm going to get them to clarify and go, oh, well, look, the reason I'm actually calling is because of that, because we're having companies do that, and we find that it's much easier for founders and company owners to have that done for them. Should we against maybe chat 15 minutes next week, see if we might be able to help you out too? And then we get an objection, or they're going to agree, and we're going to get a calendar invite out there. So that's my flow of how I would do that differently. At any point, if I get an objection again, I'm going to agree with it. And if they don't understand or relate to those problems, I'm just going to rephrase them. So they're like, no, I don't think we need this, or whatever it is. They say that isn't a problem for them. I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to dumb it down, mega dumb down, right? I'm going to go, so when you add a link to your blog? And they go, yeah. I'm like, well, when you do that, there's two types of links. It's just a normal link, and there's a backlink, and the difference is this. That's what we help with, right? I'm going to just try, and if they still say, no, I don't care about that, okay, really appreciate your time. Don't suppose you know anyone who does, else like yourself. I'm sure you work with other business owners or CEOs who would care about that, and then try and get a referral out of them. Because again, if they don't have a problem, I don't really want to book a meeting with them, because it's going to be a waste of mine and their time.
Yeah, really nice. And I think that one thing I'd say to kind of summarize from myself is, if you can find a problem that they didn't know about, you put your credibility up here. So you walk into a doctor's and you say, look, I've got a really sore stomach. This. He goes, yeah, that's fine. This rash you've got on your neck, that's really serious, because this normally indicates X, Y, Z. Maybe let's get you in for some checks, kind of thing. It's a stupid example, but it's if you can uncover something that they weren't aware of, the impact of backlinks, that they could be doing something, or a positive impact that they could be taking advantage of, you're up here. And especially if you give them the free solution to that problem. We're going to move on because we're short for time, and Pierre's glaring at me correctly. So we're going to come on to the Q&A section. Quick fire, guys, just so people don't get bored. And we see some of your questions as well. Thank you for asking the questions as well. Number one, cold call first or cold email when doing outreach, multi-channel, and using both? Will, you first?
Cold call. Pointing to the email. Email goes up.
Yeah, cold call first. Cold call. Yeah, for me, not LinkedIn is my answer, because LinkedIn, you only have about 20 actions per day, so you bottleneck your side of your funnel. Whereas inbox rotation with a tool like Lemlist, for example, inbox rotation, you can do thousands of emails per day because you can connect multiple email addresses. Next question, Pierre. They're going to turn on us, Pierre. Next question. Cold call for, that one. How long should a cold call last at maximum? I guess you guys are going to have long cold calls. Patrick, you first.
I had one like 28 minutes, I think, just 2 days ago. Yeah, it depends. I can be 30 minutes if you're basically taking the discovery call before. And then you can get in. It really depends what is the talk about. But for me, not a specific length. The longer, from Gong, we know the longer, the more likely is it going to book the meeting.
I actually disagree with that. Just for an interesting counterpoint, I've found so often if I let a call go on too long, there's a higher chance I introduce some form of information or resistance that gets them uninterested. So the moment they seem curious or have established they have a problem, I'd rather book them in for a 30-minute call where I can actually do some proper preparation for that and do my best work, and they're more in the mindset of actually having that chat. Because otherwise they could be like, oh, crap, Nick and Armand need me actually over here. and then boom, you've lost them, and then you might never get them back again. So I'm like, if I hear, yeah, that's a problem for us, or sorry, what do you do? Well, that's actually exactly why I'm calling. Why don't we book some time in later today even? Would today be too soon? And I can walk you through it. That's my preference, but I also think it depends if you're an account executive prospecting, you really know your space. Those calls can become mini discovery calls. That's great when that happens. But most folks who are cold calling I speak to are actually SDRs and BDRs who aren't quite at the level where they could hold that full discovery call and make it meaningful, and then instead they lose the prospect. So that's one piece of that.
Do you think they should be, though? Do you think they should be at that level? I mean, I think SDRs...
I think it's unrealistic expectation to have a 21-year-old come in and immediately be able to have those levels of conversations. It's something that I'd like to see the industry move more towards, but the model that most companies have set up right now, where they put the most junior folks in these seats, even then, it takes some serious time to really understand an industry and macro pain points that your customers feel across the thing. Most people's heads aren't in the right space to do that, I don't think.
I think so. Yeah, I get your point. I think with management, it can be done. I think the SDR BDR model will ultimately peter out. I'm of that camp. I think that full cycle is going to come into it much more. Let's leave that there. Yeah, we had 4 and a gate. We had a few different things. Yeah, fine. We're on a similar page. Next question, Mr. Pierre. We have one more, two more. 2 more questions, 1 more question. Oh, cold call. That one we already did, yeah. After getting a positive reply in email, how long do you follow up afterwards? Is it forever? So, Will, back to you.
I mean, I'm gonna. There's diminishing returns. I'm definitely gonna prioritize them to keep following up. And there's not getting back to me after positively respond to an email. One little hack you do: if someone positively responds to an email or a call and it gets cut off, or you have to go different ways, but they do say they're interested, I'm going to just send them a calendar invite. It's not a cold calendar invite anymore. They did say that. I'm going to put it out 3 days time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, say, hey, we had a little back and forth back in about this, because it's much harder to ignore. That said, if even that doesn't hold, then they're going to be in kind of a similar sequence or bucket of prospects to the dead deals, no decisions, no budgets, went for competitor, that you can sometimes retarget in the future because they're low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I used to do
someone
that.
else in the company as well.
I used to call it a direct invite. So sometimes if you got that sort of positive, go, oh, cool. What we'll do is we'll pop up. I'm just going to send a calendar invite for Thursday. Let me know if that time works. Thanks. And you know what? It worked an absolute dream. Not 100%, but high, like 85 plus. Really, we tested it. Patrick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would do the same with the calendar invite, but I mean, you could do it forever, but I would slowly increase the time between the follow-ups. I would have a hard time giving up on someone who was positive as well. Maybe slightly increase the time in between and do it forever.
My answer is actually that if you haven't got the if they haven't accepted, you've missed it again. Because a lot of people say, yeah, sounds good. And then if they don't accept and they don't turn up and they don't reply, you have your answer as well. They weren't as interested as they maybe first said. So you
That's what sales is. Just try to get the real truth.
Yeah.
Are they interested or are they just trying to be nice?
Yeah, and it's so hard to tell people, especially younger people, that you've just got to let that go. It's right that it's that close, but you've just got to, you know that scene in Lord of the Rings when she's touching the how's it called, for God's sake? The cup.
Ring?
The cup of Christ, for God's sake. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, she's touching it. She go, let it go. It's right there. I know it looks good. Let the meeting go. Focus on something else. Long-winded point to say, yeah, let it go. So next slide, Mr. Pierre. We're coming towards the end. But what we would like to do is, how do you choose between who you will call and who you will email? Patrick, should we go to you first? How do you decide?
Well, the only decision criteria that has an impact here is whether I find the email address or the phone number. If I have both data, I don't both. As we said before, I think LinkedIn, email, cold call. If I have all the data, I'll do all 3. Not always LinkedIn as well, because I like the voice messages there the most, and I'm not always doing them, we're not always doing them. But definitely both.
It's the voice man, Patrick, the voice man. Will? The same.
Agree.
Yes, agree. Positive. Okay, next slide. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little, we're going to do another challenge. Should we enlarge that particular slide, Mr. Pierre, and get one more time the code up? What we'd like to do is we'd like to give you the chance to have, sometimes it's a problem when you're not sure whether it's working your campaign, you want a bit of advice on your email campaign, you want to know if your emails are going to hit, if it's the multi-channel side, A/B testing, and so on. There's so many different variables. So what I am offering is 30 minutes, Pierre, we said 30 minutes. 30 minutes of my time, not right now, 30 minutes of my time, yeah, God, that scared me. 30 minutes of my time where I will analyze a cold outreach sequence of your choice. It can be multi-channel, it can be in Lemlist, it can be outside of Lemlist, whatever you would desire. I will go through it. I will give my honest feedback. I can maybe even get the tips from my friends here in the webinar. They can give some ideas. But that is what is up for grabs. So if you scan that code and you are ready to earn a gift, that is what I am more than happy to offer. Obviously, you can ask me whatever it is. I can give you all my tips or my advice, things that you will need that actually I use in my own outreach, which gets, I mean, genuinely at least sort of between 8 and 15 meetings every single day. That is what we can do. So there it is. Scan the code. Go on to that, and that's something that we wanted to offer for the goodness of our hearts to thank you for joining us on the first webinar. So whilst that's happening, whilst people are submitting, very, very quickly, can you share a memorable sales win, guys? A big win that you've had recently. It'd be nice to hear some positive stories as well. Will, you first. Have you got anything that you've really happy with where you thought, yeah, that makes me feel good? I'd like to share that.
Yeah, the one thing, and this kind of relates a little bit to what you were saying earlier, is I won a sale because I just gave them everything. You know what I mean? Like I told them how to fix it without me. You know what I mean? And I think that's true, like consulting and generosity, when you just go, yeah, like this. And they were evaluating me against 2 other people who are well-known names in the space, bigger than me, probably more expensive as well, frankly. But they said, you know, like, we just found that you shared 2 or 3 things that we could do right away without ever hiring you. And that gave us faith that if we paid to work with you, there'd be so much more to it. You know what I mean? The other people were very generic and said what they would do and all that stuff, but didn't tell us how to, didn't give us things that we could literally take away right there and then. So I feel like the takeaway on that one is like, just tell people how to do it for free. Like, don't gatekeep that information, because what they're going to do is they're going to try those, but they're also going to want to know the other 10 things they could be doing, or they're going to find those really difficult and want someone to do it for them, or want a software to do it for them. And then what they're going to do is come back to you because you built trust and they're going to reciprocate.
Exactly. Credibility. I was about to say, and doesn't it just decrease the credibility of the people that are charging, for example, $1,000 or 5,000 or whatever for a course where you've just said, no, just do this, X, Y, Z. People flock towards you. You just, suddenly you get people going, oh, and what else? And you go, got them. That's how you do it. It's actually just being nice, being caring, and being valuable to other people. And that's really, really cool. That's a really, really nice one. Patrick, yourself in the lovely land of Switzerland.
Yeah, we startup world is sometimes tough selling a product that doesn't really exist, or that you don't really have a solution. Right? I've been doing that the last 12 years, sometimes a bit later, but now again quite early. And what I really like is when you find a good problem to solve that your solution is close to, but still not there yet, and you have a product team that builds you something on top of that, like quickly within 2 weeks, that you can show the solution to the problem that you discovered, and it kind of works out, and then you can close and kind of increase also the share that you have in the market, like in general, the possibility. And we did that just this week, and that was a big one for us. And it's always so crucial to have in a like, it's more in a startup. I'm not sure in a big corporation you can't do that, but in a startup world, to have mobilized the team, like the developers and so on, that they support, because otherwise there's almost no chance you win. Anything.
That's really sweet, and I've had it recently as well with not that anyone else, but just to give you my another thing, the AI variables in Lemlist. I was so impressed. Like I literally went, oh my God, it just works. And there was one bug that we had to do pre-launch, and I was like, that's it. If that's that, then it works. The AI variables, go. That's it. I'm happy. I can just do it. Thank you, guys. And then I was just like a kid. We're going to move on. Mr. Pierre, that was really sweet. Thank you guys for those ones right now. And we've got the winner. We've got a winner, Pierre. Absolutely. I'm not going to say the wrong thing. The winner is Mathis Dreher, maybe, from Veolia. So thank you so much, Matthias. We will get a link over to you, my calendar link, my Lemcal, obviously. and we will go through the campaign and any other questions that you have. I will share whatever it is that you need. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, everyone. I mean, you were a lot pretty engaging, I think, overall. Here we've got Lemlist. So here I'm going to expand a little bit onto what Lemlist does. So essentially, before I ask you guys to kind of close out into what it is that you're working on right now, where the audience can find you. The reason why we've spoken a lot about multi-channel things is that obviously on behalf of Lemlist, the whole point about cold email versus cold call is that you must do both nowadays. You must not only build a brand, that's for a separate future webinar, of which there are many, aren't there, Pierre? Pierre's nodding his head. There are many more episodes in this webinar series, but the whole point is that you need to do cold calling to train yourself, if nothing else. Then you need to email, and you need to use inbox rotation. You need to use all of these things that a lot of different tools do have. Then you need to start sort of working with AI. Then you need to have sort of good deliverability. Then you need to maybe go on LinkedIn and send that kind of thing. And that's what Lemlist is offering. So if you can get the 4 pillars of prospection, email deliverability, finding leads, lead sourcing, quality data, copywriting, that's all you need to do. I'll leave it there. Mr. Will Aitken, could you tell us tell the audience where they can find you before we finish?
Yeah, sure. It looks like a lot of people here watching this are on YouTube. If you want to, that's probably the easiest plug I can make is I have a YouTube channel called Sales Feed. Be sure to check it out. And also, just want to say a big thanks because I'm in New York right now, helping the gents over at 30 Minutes to Presence Club film their course. So go listen to the 30 MPC podcast if you don't already. Good chat.
Thank you. Patrick, thank you for your time, Will, as well. Patrick.
I like the fresh answer, Will, with YouTube, but I just read a post on LinkedIn that everybody always says on that question, find me on LinkedIn. And
yeah,
that's
You
my
can't find me on LinkedIn though. But
of course.
if you're on YouTube already, Sales Feed.
Yeah, do that as well. Do that as well. Do both. Yeah. Patrick.
You also find my phone number on LinkedIn, by the way, so you can call.
Beautiful. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me from New York, and thank you for joining me from Switzerland, Patrick. Am I not? I'm right?
Yeah.
A long time ago, I added Patrick. He didn't know it, but I put one of his email templates in one of my YouTube videos, and we became friends from then, didn't we, Patrick? We did.
Absolutely.
And it's been an absolute pleasure. Join us again for more episodes in this webinar series. We're going to focus on other topics. Social selling, I'm sure, will be in there. AI will be in there. Cold emails, deliverability, so on and so on. An absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for the